Oh, you beauty! What a head, son! What a head!
Yes, Travis, welcome back to Onto the Ball.
You knew the grin was coming after the intro. You knew it was coming, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Welcome back.
Welcome back, mate.
Super Sunday, Onto the Ball. Me and Travis are back. What a day of ball. West Ham 2, Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0, Manchester United 2. I've just watched it now, making notes. They're not the kind of notes that I wanted to be making, to be honest, because you had nearly a full team out, would you say? I've been watching you on Twitter. I'm always watching.
I know, mate.
You've been upset at the injury list. And I've spent pretty much all day chat searching when you told me I weren't allowed to moan about Liverpool and the injuries. So here we are, all's fair in love and football. 3 points for Manchester United, 1 point for Arsenal. That is going to be a massive talking point. I did say, listen, this Arsenal game against Liverpool, I said to Josh of True Gooner, if you can get through that Anfield test, you're probably going to win the league. If you don't win at Anfield, you're probably going to lose it. And so far, I'm bang on the money. What a 2 points to drop today. Did you watch the West Ham Arsenal game?
I did, yeah. Similar to the Arsenal game. Similar to the Liverpool game, cruising.
Yeah, fast
cruising
start.
After half an hour, and then one lapse in concentration, penalty given away, and the game just changes, flips on its head. Arsenal panicking under pressure again, those old habits creeping in. Similar to United in some ways, they're much more developed in their progression, but do you know, under adversity and under a little bit of pressure, they've got this like soft centre that you can get at. And do you know, if you sort of chip away at that, especially away from home, they don't really stand up to that adversity all the time. And again, with it being a London derby, the penalty changed the game again. Arsenal found themselves under a lot of pressure that they couldn't deal with. And in some moments, I know Arsenal had chances to win the game, but they've also could have lost as well. And there's that lack of experience at key times. Like Fergie used to call it squeaky bum time. And it really is that time now. Like the pressure's coming for Arsenal.
But it's still early, isn't it? I know we keep saying it every stream, but what is there left now? Is it 8 or 7 or 8?
8 games, 8
so
games.
Both played
There's
30.
still going to be twists and turns. There's going to be plenty more twists and turns. But I just point to that fixture now at the Etihad. That really is the fixture that's going to decide it for me. And whoever wins that's going to win it. It's as simple as that. Whoever wins that game, I think, will go on to win it.
So City are winning it then. Listen,
I mean,
Arsenal are not going to the Etihad. You just spoke about a soft centre. Rob Holding is that soft centre, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was diabolical today. He wasn't the best against Liverpool. And Arteta, our group, in the group chat, I searched it and I called it. I said, Arteta is absolutely crazy to be going this strong in the Europa League. He's trying to win a league title. What on earth is he doing? Obviously, Saliba got injured in that Sporting Lisbon game. And I think he's out for the season. He's out indefinitely, which is probably the end of the season. And now you've got Rob Holding trying to win leagues, and it's all unraveling. You know, my favourite search word, unravel Morrison.
That injury there could have cost them the title without a shadow of a doubt. And like you said, the drop-off in quality is just chalk and cheese. Saliba's been excellent for them. And like you said, in these big away trips where you just want that calm head, he's like a Rolls Royce of a defender in everything that he does it with like a calmness and just such a composure. And like you said, Rob Holding's just the opposite of that, panicking, diving into challenges. Obviously gave the penalty away against Liverpool. And Gabriel's challenge, he didn't cover himself in any glory. I know there was some debate on Twitter as to whether it was a penalty or not. He's absolutely nowhere near the ball. He doesn't have to tackle in the fashion that he does. And I think it was a poor decision. But I think Thomas Partey killed him before as well. Just like, I don't know what he was doing. Just really weird decision from him. And then obviously the penalty gets given away. And Saka missing the penalty as well. It's just sometimes your luck's just not in. And Arsenal are just sort of running out of luck. And look like now they are starting to feel the pressure a little bit. Arteta with his changes as well, not covering himself in any glory with the substitutions. Very strange. Like, you need a goal, so you take off Jesus and Odegaard. I know Jesus is coming back from quite a long injury, but Odegaard's arguably their most creative player. And I think there's a lot left to be desired with some of the decisions that Arteta's made in the last couple of games. So yeah, questions need to be asked about that. Not in terms of his long-term management or anything. He's still super exceeding expectations. He's done a fantastic job. But I just think for Arsenal being so close, they're going to be disappointed if they can't see it through, especially as he's come out and, well, not blatantly come out and said, but he hasn't gone strong in the Europa League. You can see that he's rested most of the players for the Premier League, and they had quite a big cushion and quite a big lead. But again, I was speaking to my mum about this actually a few days ago, and she said that Arsenal have rode the luck in some games. There's been some games where they've not actually deserved to win and they've got over the line, or they've got a draw. And like you said, it looked, yeah, Bournemouth, Leeds. I can remember Leeds away were like really peppering the Arsenal goal, just couldn't convert. So it looks like the luck might have run out a little bit now, and at the business end, the results are going against them, and Man City are in ominous form.
Is it luck running out, or is Teta? I mean, you can say you're not questioning his managerial future or his managerial capabilities, but at the business end, when you talk about experience and trying to win leagues, it's not just the players on the pitch, is it? It's the manager as well. And I'm pretty sure he told them to retreat against Liverpool in that second half, and it cost them dearly. And he's obviously tried to go strong in the Europa League for reasons that I will never understand. I know different people have got different ideas about the Europa League. Some value it more than others. Some think it's dead like me. I'd rather not be in it than ever compete in it or ever try to win it, especially if I was going for a league title. So that aside, ultimately, Arteta has got a fantastic first 11. What was he thinking going strong in the Europa League when the drop-off is the likes of even Jorginho, Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, Rob Holding, Kieran Tierney didn't do that well today. Zinchenko was missed big time, I think. And I'm not Zinchenko's biggest fan, but I thought the drop-off to Tierney, I can see why he's not getting a sniff.
I think today, like, all the points you've hit the nail on the head with those points. I think today, though, they did have enough. I mean, being 2-0 up away at a struggling West Ham. Do you know what I mean? Arteta must be thinking, pulling his hair out and thinking, we've had a penalty as well, a missed penalty. There's no excuses today for Arsenal to get the 3 points. And like I said, they'll be absolutely devastated in that dressing room that they've not come away with the win, because Man City will be smelling blood now. Do you know what I mean? Like, it all points down to that game at the Etihad. Like I said, we spoke to Neil on the group chat today, and he wanted that little 6-8 point buffer before they went into that City game. Yes, City would have had a couple of games in hand, but like now they've left themselves in a position of real vulnerability. I'm not even sure they've got in the next fixture. I've not checked. I'm assuming they'll be at home. Is it Southampton? Which you'd expect them to get the 3 points at home, but then they play City the game after. So if City beat them, and then the gap goes to like 4 points, and they've got 2 games in hand, you've got to think then that the pressure is just going to be insurmountable for Arsenal. I think Man City are in the box seat. They're wrapping games up after 30 minutes and taking Haaland off at half time. Do you know what I mean? What team has that luxury?
Yeah, but so are Arsenal. So are Arsenal, and then falling apart in the second half.
I know, exactly. Exactly. I think there's no excuses for Arsenal today. I think, like you said, they had the players out there to see that through. But credit to West Ham. Do you know what I mean? This stage of the season is dodgy, mate. It's so weird. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen. Like, what makes it interesting is if you look at the fixtures, there's just no point looking at them because you just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we beat Forest today, and I'm absolutely buzzing with the result because, like you said, they beat you. They've drawn with Chelsea at home, and I know Chelsea aren't having the best season. But Forest home form for a team that's 18th isn't bad at all. So any fixtures,
I don't know about that. They're winless in 10.
I know. But against the bigger teams, they've done okay. That's what I was trying to say. Against the bigger teams, they've done okay. They drew Man City at the City ground as well. So they've taken some scouts at home. But the fixtures from the final 8 games, you might as well just throw them in the bin because everyone's got something to play for at the minute. There's no teams that are sort of in between apart from probably Chelsea and Fulham, I would say. Even Brighton are trying to push for an outside place in Europe. Obviously, Spurs, Brentford have lost their last couple against us, and they lost at the weekend against Wolves as well. So I think that probably rules them out of the top four. Liverpool will be encouraged by this weekend's results, and we've been here again for the 10th time. Liverpool going to get the top four.
Our season starts tomorrow.
But everyone's got something to play for, mate, and that's what makes this league so interesting. Like, again, the game was dead and buried today after half an hour. Somehow West Ham pull it out of the bag and get a point, and that's what makes it so great.
Yeah. What was Saka doing with that penalty? I mean, people were comparing Saka to Salah this season, saying who's the better right winger. If anything, Saka was trying to copy Salah there because that was just like Salah's penalty against Bournemouth. I mean, you cannot miss the target in a crunch game like that to put your team 3-1 up when you're chasing the league, when you've got the experience of the Euros under your belt. What was he doing? He just cannot do that. Was Jorginho on the park by then?
No, he wasn't.
I don't think he was he?
No. The only thing I can put it down to is pressure, but the reason I put it down to pressure is because if you look at all Saka's penalties, he normally goes low. He normally goes bottom corners. He never goes high. Never goes high. So unless he's mishit it or he's just second guessed just before he struck it, that's what pressure can do to you. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, they've gone straight up the other end and equalised within a couple of minutes of that missed penalty. So I can only put it down to pressure. He's normally quite cool. And since the Euros, when he missed the penalty and England got knocked out, I don't think he's missed one. So again, that's why I think he scored every single one. So he's obviously well trusted. You've got other players on the park who you probably think could take them as well. I don't think Jesus and Odegaard would have a problem with him with taking them either. I think they would step up. But like you said, you can miss one. You can miss one. Do you know what I mean? I think a player can miss a penalty without a doubt. But it just came at such a crucial time for us. So I think if that penalty goes in, the game's over. But it's the fine lines and the fine margins.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're chasing a league, against Man City, the way they've been the last 5 years. And obviously you can't learn from other people's experience. It's not like they can look at Liverpool for the last 5 years and think, what did Liverpool do wrong? If anything, I know they finished a point behind twice on 90 something points. So, but to watch that and have an opportunity to go 3-1 up, obviously, Are we going to go as far as saying the bottle in it? Because I've just watched the Roy Keane and Gary Neville after the Forest Man U game, and Gary Neville said they've not bottled it. This is not a bottling. It's a wobble. And I'm thinking, really? Because it feels like a bottling to me. If they just drew these two games 2-2 in different circumstances, they were 2-0 up in both games. If that isn't a bottling, Travis, what is?
Yeah, I think bottle was a little bit too far, but they have in a way, like they've given it away.
If they lose the league, they'll look back on these two games and say they bottled it.
Especially today, because Anfield, it can do that to you. Like, your home form this season has been fantastic, and like I said, they were dominant in the first 40 minutes in that game, but you came back strong, and I think most of the big teams would take a point at Anfield anyway. Do you know what I mean? But then when you're going into West Ham, who were struggling in the league, 2-0 up away from home, controlling the game, I think on this individual game, you do have to class it as a little bit of a bottle. I must say it is, to be that comfortable in the game and to let it slip with the control that they had. I can only put it down to complacency. It was a little bit too easy. It reminded me of like how we were on Thursday against Sevilla. Because I'll be honest, I was sort of half watching that game. I just thought 2-0, game's over. You didn't think anything else was going to happen, really. You just thought you'd manage the game, see it out. Arsenal will keep possession, but all of a sudden, penalty gets given away and they're on the ropes. And that's the second time in a row that's happened. So, yeah, they are making it difficult for themselves to the point. And like you said, City are smelling blood now. And if they lose that game at the Etihad, then I think it's curtains for Arsenal. I must admit, and I've been very confident with Arsenal, extremely confident with the way that they play, the manager, everything, their methods and stuff. But I said to my mum again, she's always right. She's always doubted Arsenal. She's always said there's something about Arsenal that I don't trust, in terms of like how they manage games. We've rode our luck in games. We don't kill teams off. We haven't got that scorer that kills teams off. Like you put Haaland in Arsenal's team, that game is over by half time. Do you know what I mean? And they're similar to us in that sense. They haven't got that killer up front that can take the game away from an opposition. And that's the difference between the two teams at the top, Erling Haaland.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I asked Josh when he was on last week, didn't I, before the Liverpool-Arsenal game. I said, what's the feeling in the fan base? Is it, this is too good to be true and we're inevitably going to bottle it or lose out? Or is the fan base confident that you've got enough? It's been a great season. And he said that it was a bit split, but it was probably on the side of confidence. But it just shows it's only been, 8 days now, 2 draws in 8 days. 4 dropped points. City just seem to be going to another level after I'd say a bit of a lackluster season so far, but they're kicking into gear just at the right time, scoring for fun, smashing it in the Champions League, absolutely nailing Bayern Munich, still in the FA Cup and walking, it would seem, every league game. But I'm not going to make excuses for Arsenal. However, I do feel they've got it a little bit harder because they've got so many London derbies. Like today's a London derby, so that would have been a derby. Then they've got Southampton next, then Man City, that'll be tough. Then I'm sure it's Chelsea. That's another London derby. There's no love lost for them. I know we say form goes out the window in a derby. On paper, Arsenal beat Chelsea pretty easy. Then they've got Newcastle, who are still fighting for their lives for that top 4.
Yeah.
So
at St. James's as well.
Wrong. Yeah, it could go wrong big time. And we could be talking about a bottling way before the end of the season. Do you agree? Or do you think they're going to pick up some points there?
I can't see Man City losing another game. Like, not only that, I can see Man City winning every game. Like, I just don't see, like, even Brighton away. I looked at the fixtures and I think they've got Brighton and Brentford. But I just fancy them to just tear them to shreds, especially Brentford. Like the way they're playing and the way they're brushing teams aside now, I just don't see how those teams. I think Brighton will give them a good game, a competitive game, but the quality City have just to finish games off, I just can't see how Man City are going to lose. And that's my fear. Like they could easily do the treble this year. Like you said, I think it's down to them. I'm scared. I'll admit I'm scared.
It's on.
It is on. It's
Let's be honest, it's on.
They've got Sheffield United in the FA Cup semi-final.
That's done then.
That's done. They're in the final of that.
They'll beat Brighton or Man United, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's not certain, but they'll beat them. So that's done. The league, you've got to say it's done.
It's not done.
Then
but
the Champions League, it looks done. And then the Champions League.
No, you're gonna come on.
As long as they get
not
past,
done yet. It's not.
You
done
could
yet.
say
It's not done
say
yet.
the final is the semi against Real Madrid. You could say that's the final. They get past Real Madrid. They're going to pattern up any of them Italian teams.
Yeah, Milan,
Probably,
Napoli,
Inter, Napoli,
Benfica. They're all dead. Yeah, Man City. If they do beat, they're obviously going to beat Bayern Munich. But like you said, that Real Madrid game. But you've seen Man City in the Champions League when they get to semi-finals. They hate it.
And we've seen Real Madrid.
Spurs beat them a couple of years ago. They get knocked out in the semi-finals. So have they got that psychological block that's going to stop them? I hope so, man. I can't see Man City win the treble, mate. I can't watch that. I can't watch that. I can't watch that.
I got a feeling it's going to happen.
Oh, don't, mate. I'd love it if they got to both finals and we beat them in the final of the FA Cup. That would be lovely, mate.
What a day.
There's never actually been a Manchester Derby Cup final.
Really?
No, never. There's never been one.
Mind you, don't fancy yourself to get past Brighton, do you? Reading your tweets the last 48 hours.
Yeah, no, not with them. When them injuries broke, honestly, I was scared. But then I think Brighton got Evan Ferguson injured and a couple of other boys in their last fixture against Spurs. I think they've got a couple of players out which might level it from an individual standpoint. But Brighton plays some really good football. But yeah, like you said, Arsenal back to your question. Sorry, I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but they've got some tough fixtures. But like I said, I felt confident about Arsenal and the way that they're playing. But I mean, after the Anfield draw, they had to bounce back today with 3 points to keep that momentum. Do you know what I mean? And they've not done that now. And now I think the panic sets in. And what it does is it doesn't just panic the players, it starts panicking the fan base. What they've always had all season, the fan base, is they've had a patience and a trust with Arsenal that even when they're at home, the goal hasn't come yet, or they're chasing a game, there's no anxiety because you're just confident that it's going to come. Now with these couple of draws, how will the fans react at home? Will they become a little bit more desperate, start putting more pressure on the players to start, and they're going to start rushing the decisions in the final third? It all has a knock-on effect. So I think today's result, such a negative result in more ways than one, I think it's going to have quite a detrimental effect on the rest of the season.
And I said that to Josh as well, didn't I? If you get a result at Anfield, it's not just the result, it'll be the confidence. You'll feel invincible. You can go anywhere. No one else has picked up points at Anfield. I mean, like none of the big teams. Obviously, Leeds won at Anfield, but that would have given them confidence to go on. And sometimes it can work against you, can't it? Like people sing about Arsenal. I've got one of the youngest squads in the league, or one of the youngest starting 11s. But that can work against you. Maybe the lack of experience is starting to tell, because when you watch them play, like probably their most experienced is Zinchenko, the way he kind of orchestrates the team and he's always leading the celebrations. And you can tell he's kind of galvanized the squad into a winning mentality from his time at Man City. He wasn't there today. You've got Rob Holding making a mess of it. Partey didn't have a great game. I know you can't really talk about experience with him because he's 29. He played in the Liga for many years, so you think he would have brought the experience, but he was shaky today. Martinelli blows hot and cold. Saka has missed a penalty today. Jesus is just back from an injury. And that's the thing, when they've dropped a few points like that, you can pick on all these little negative things, can't you? And then the next 3 or 4 games on paper start looking difficult.
They do. And I think, I mean, Southampton at home should be a dead rubber, but you just don't know with them fighting for their lives. I mean, I think they're dead and buried, to be honest, Southampton. I think they're 4 points off 18th and they've played a game more, I think, well, before Forest played today. So I think it was always going to be very difficult for them to get out of it, but they'll still fight. That's what makes it difficult for Arsenal, that they will fight to the end to stay up. So again, with the 2 draws, like you just said, it makes it a difficult game for Arsenal, even though it's at home. They could brush them aside. I mean, some of the football they play, they start games really well, Arsenal. So I think if they can have another start like they did today against Southampton, you'd expect them to comfortably dispatch them. But like you said, that's 2 games now where they've lost 2-goal leads. That's going to be a little bit of concern for Arteta. And he's got to look at himself as well tactically. Am I managing games right? Yeah, what have I got to do to manage games a little bit better from an emotional standpoint? The substitutions that he's making, because I mean, I've not watched any of the fan channels, but they'll be questioning it. His subs, because they do question his subs anyway about who he's.
And he made them late, didn't he? He was bringing on some attacking players in the 89th minute.
Yeah,
and I did think, come on, give them a chance. If it's a positive change, give them a bit of a chance.
Yeah, and I think he underestimated how big that 3 points was, because I wouldn't have been taking off attackers like for like. I would have been taking off defenders. Like, I'd rather would have lost the game and tried to win the game with about 5 strikers on. He should have just thrown everyone up front. Even put a centre half up front, just lob some crosses in, just something a little bit different. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you need to do that. If you haven't, like you said, got that composure or the experience like City, most of the time they'll just carry on playing the way that they're playing. You sort of know the goal is going to come. But sometimes you have to do a little bit different, something a little bit different to get a result. And I think Arteta will look long and hard and reflect on the last couple of games, and he'll probably see what he has to change with 8 games left.
We know what he's got to change. Rob Holding out on a free transfer. Speaking of subpar central defenders, let's move on to Man United and Harry Maguire and Lindelof. Clean sheets galore. And you're absolutely buzzing. But listen, Harry Maguire's first 20 minutes he didn't even look like a footballer. I was thinking he's going to get taken off before half time. He was that bad. But to be fair, he pulled it round, didn't really put a foot wrong. Forest would try to bring it as much as they can. And that's the thing. I always come on these streams talking about teams that are down there like Forest are winless in 10. But they put up a good fight today. You always think they're winless in 10, they must be crap, and like they won't have a foothold in the game or any chances, but they do. These are like professional footballing teams, and Forest had their chances. They could have scored one, maybe two. Man United obviously could have been got out with Lindelof and Maguire at the back. Wan-Bissaka, Dalot playing left back in his unnatural position. And what a goal by him, by the way. What a run. We'll get to that, I'm sure. But yeah, obviously you were not in a good headspace going into this game because of all these injuries. You must be delighted with the 3 points.
It was a bad Thursday for us. It was a bad Thursday. Martinez and Varane, I thought they were both going to be out for the season. And then today in the warm-up, Sabitzer gets injured. I'm like, Bruno suspended for the game on Thursday. I'm like, we haven't even got a midfield. Eriksen's just coming back, and my head was scrambled. Yeah, I'll admit my head was all over the place on Thursday. I was like, we ain't gonna win another game for the rest of the season. Just thinking of Magaluf centre off. I was just thinking, no. But do you know what? Like you said, to come away with a clean sheet. I know Forest are struggling, but like you said, they put up a good fight, Nottingham Forest today, and I think in the early parts, although Man U were dominating the game, set plays, we looked nervy. Do you know what I mean? I like, you know why I've been asking for sort of a dominant keeper quite recently, like centre halves as well. Maguire, for somebody who lacks such mobility and agility, you'd think the one thing that he would have as an attribute would be physicality, being able to jump and dominate people in the air. He's so far from that as well. He doesn't do that. Gets roughed up. He's always holding people. And he's a bag of nerves, and he makes the fan base nervous just from an individual standpoint. No one else around him. He can make a mistake unchallenged at any point in any game. And that risk will always be attached to him. No matter how well he does in a game, he will always have that element of risk. So I was worried just in the first 15 minutes due to that fact. But I thought we played some great football, I'll be honest. I think the difference Martial makes to our attack, just in terms of the movement. Like I said, he's never fit, but you can see just how much quality he brings when he is fit. And what I like about Ten Hag is that he's managing him really well. Like, this was his first start since he's been back. I think he's been made 3 substitute appearances before today. But I think it sort of needs must. I mean, the turning point for me was that game a few weeks ago against Newcastle when Weghorst played. And I think it was the turning point for Ten Hag. I think he's backed his boy to the hilt, but he just thought, this can't run for the rest of the season. I did say after that game, didn't I? We can't play Weghorst from the start.
I think everyone did, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it was so limited with McTominay in the 10. Can you remember that? It seems so long ago. And I was like, nah, that can't happen. But yeah, since Martial's coming back into the team, I thought Eriksen, who was drafted in late from obviously from the warm-up, the injury to Sabitzer, I thought Eriksen was brilliant. Bruno Fernandes as well. Like, I think you can see the fluidity in our play. Like, I think we're moving more towards this 4-3-3 where Eriksen and Bruno are able to get on the ball and sort of rotate and cause problems. And with combination play, I thought Anthony was excellent as well. I think there was a lot of good individual performances. Yeah. But I think Forest, again, like you said, they gave us too much room. I think they struggled to get to grips with the system we sort of played with Dalot as an inverted fullback. It just created an extra midfielder. And again, I think that's quite a popular trend with a few teams. I know obviously Man City, Arsenal do it. We saw Liverpool do it with Trent against Arsenal. So you're going to see that a lot more now. And I think Forest did struggle to cope with that element of the game.
I always feel embarrassed reminding people that when I watch Anthony, I keep thinking of Arjen Robben. But as I say today, I thought he was really good. But I also thought Sancho was really good. Is he had a couple of starts in a row now? Is he starting to find his feet?
I know
he started against Sevilla.
Yeah, he started against Sevilla, and I think he was good against Sevilla. I think sections of the fan base criticised Sancho quite heavily today. which was quite surprising in some senses. I think they just don't think they're getting enough for the money that was paid for him. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on Sancho because of this price tag and what he did at Dortmund and stuff like that. So he's a little bit of a work in progress. He should be ahead of where he is now. But I think Ten Hag likes the player. But like you said, he will flourish when he's got consistent runners around him, like Martial's, like Bruno's, like Eriksen's, to bounce it off and play little 1-2s. And like you said, Anthony today was different mustard. I think when he was out for a section of the season, I think he missed about 6 or 8 games in a row just before the World Cup and then returned for the World Cup. We really missed the balance that he gives to the team because he can keep his width, but because he's all left foot, he can come inside and he was dangerous. We saw that with the second goal today with the pass to Dalot. But I think what he's going to be encouraged to add to his game is, like, for example, the first goal, really getting in on the far post, looking to get tap-ins and rebounds and become a little bit more productive with his numbers. I think if he adds his numbers to his all-round play, he's going to be an excellent player for us because he's certainly got the ability from an offensive standpoint. He works so hard as well, protects his fullback. I think he's a fullback's dream because if you ask him to tuck in and double up, he'll do it. He's not afraid to put a foot in. He's a little bit nasty. I think he's got a lot of good attributes to be a top winger. And now if he starts adding the goals and the assists over the next 12 to 18 months, I think you're going to see a really, really good signing.
A special shout out for Eriksen as well.
Yeah.
He was really good today. And obviously I was a bit, not scathing, I was a little bit negative that Ten Hag was going to try and build a squad around Christian Eriksen. He's obviously had his fitness issues with his heart problem. Hopefully he's over that now. Rivalry aside, of course, but he's what is he, 30, 31? Is he 32
yet? 30.
But yeah, he looked fantastic today.
Different mustard, yeah. And like you said, I think he's happy to do both roles. I think him and Bruno were sort of switching, taking it in turns to sort of get the ball off the back line, start getting us ticking. And the difference it makes, he's been out for a long time. And when Casemiro had his suspensions, it really limits the way we can play out from the back. And I think it just gives everybody that bit of encouragement that, you know, if you give them the ball in tight areas, they can navigate it. They can move it. They can shift it. They're comfortable on the ball. They're not going to lose it. They're going to retain the ball. And that just helps everybody around them massively. And the forward players know they're going to get it when they want. I mean, you saw the first goal, a little bit of pressure from Martial, and instantly, boom, the ball was turned over. Bruno, little through pass, and Martial's getting a shot off. Do you know what I mean? That's how important these players are to us. So yeah, Eriksen, absolutely fantastic today.
Did you kind of mention that Varane is not going to be out as long as you feared?
Yeah. Ornstein put something out saying there's fears he could miss the rest of the season, but it's been diagnosed as a few weeks. So he's definitely going to be out for the next few games. And we've got a tough little run of fixtures. We've got Sevilla, Brighton in the cup, and then we've got Spurs, then Villa. So them next 4 games, you'll probably miss all of those games. And Villa are flying as well. So again, we've just got to batten down the hatches, and the performances really aren't that important at the moment. It's all about results this stage of the season. It's important for us to get over the line. Like you said, we were patched up today. Even Malacia had a knee injury, but I think he might have got punished a little bit for that severe lapse. That's what the rumours are. Well, we're cruising 2-0 and a cross came in and Malacia left it against Sevilla. I thought it was going out of play, and Jesus Navas has ran in behind him, gone to smash it across the box, and it's gone off Malacia's leg and scored an own goal. And I think that was a bit of a turning point of the game. Yeah, so I think Malacia came under a lot of scrutiny from that, and I heard he got dropped, but he might have a genuine injury. I mean, Ten Hag's doesn't normally leave people out of the 18. He will put somebody on the bench for a bad performance, so he might genuinely be injured. But it was patched up, and I thought Dalot adjusted to that left back role well. So yeah, it was I think the back four, they weathered a little bit of a storm early on with some of the set plays, but generally I think we did well.
So basically you just got to keep the ball away from Lindelof and Maguire for the next 4 or 5 games and hope for the best and just focus on the results. Hizami Rosley is in. Thanks for joining, mate. Really appreciate it. He says Bruno was my man of the match today. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
He was mustard, wasn't he?
yeah, statistically he was man of the match, but eye test as well, he was man of the match. He was everywhere again. And like you said, I think he's got that creative side. Obviously, he loves to make things happen. You saw the example of the first goal. But before today's game, you've seen him in that deeper role. And that's where I actually prefer him as a player, getting the ball, making attacks. I'd like to see sometimes him and Eriksen switch in certain games when you want the little balls through the eye of the needle. I think Eriksen's got that quality a little bit more than Bruno. But Bruno's all action. He just adds so much energy and enthusiasm to the midfield. And sometimes you need that competitive element in a game as much as the technical element as well. And I think Bruno just adds that competitive. He keeps everybody alive in the game. You just know you can't drop your standards. I know he can be petulant at times, and his captaincy is questionable. But in a game like today, I think his leadership today really stood out for us. So yeah, I would agree with his Army's comment for sure.
I was actually going to say about the captain's armband. What do you think the feeling is in the dressing room when Maguire? I presume Maguire is the club captain, so he doesn't have to be told he's captain. He just starts putting the armband on. Do you think that annoys Bruno or anyone else in the dressing room? Do you think they're like, you're not even a first teamer anymore? Do you think you should be relinquishing it and saying, look, I barely play. Bruno, you carry on. I've got my own game to concentrate on.
I'm not sure at this stage. Like, it's a really difficult situation for Ten Hag to sort of manage. Like, he's trying to be nice. Like, he's saying, right, well, you're my club captain, but you're not going to play. So, like, you've got to accept the fact that you've got to earn your place in the team, which I think is good. But he's trying to do it in the nicest possible way. And I think that's rubbed the fan base up in the wrong way in some sections of it, because they're just like, well, just be ruthless, take the captaincy off him, but like you said, but in terms of the morale of the player, it's important. I mean, these two injuries have rocked us, so we need Maguire now. So I think Ten Hag's been very clever with the way he's managed Maguire, but I still expect him to be shifted on in the summer, because ultimately, no matter what way you dress it up, he's just not good enough.
Can you see the dog? You're right, buddy. Hizami says, do you think United gameplay should revolve around Sancho while Rashford is out? I'm not sure if you just joined us, Hizami, but we just mentioned that. Sancho, this is probably exactly what Sancho needs, isn't it, Travis? A run a game so that he can get into a bit of a rhythm, bit of a routine, find some form, and hopefully win over some Man United fans.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Who the team should revolve around. Sancho, yeah, it's interesting. Like you said, Scott, I don't think Sancho's getting enough consistent starts for us to really build a team around him in that sense. Like, he's got the quality to link with player. I mean, I class him as like a little bit of a street baller. Like, when he gets the ball at his feet, little combinations, tricks, skills. He's not got blistering pace. He's not that type of winger where he's just going to 1v1 rip you apart. He's more of a combination player, likes to get in pockets, likes to get in clever spaces. So in terms of revolving the team around Sancho, I think it's a little bit early for that. More like an Anthony at the moment in terms of the way he's playing. I think he's very integral to the way our attack plays. But like you said, Martial has been the one that's made the huge difference in the front line. Taking Weghorst out and having somebody that can run in behind and also hold it up. And not just hold it up, the way he moves with the ball as well at his feet. He doesn't just hold it up. He drifts in from the left. He's very clever. His use of the ball is excellent. And he's very creative and very imaginative, Martial. So he's going to be key from now to the end of the season if we're going to bring any of these other trophies that we're in home. But I think today's result was huge in terms of the top four implications. Like I said, I've always been confident that after that Newcastle defeat, I said the next 3 games, look, steady, look, shaking. Ice cold, mate. I said the next 3 games, Everton at home, Brentford at home, Forest away, they were key, because with the teams in and around us playing each other, Brighton just played Spurs last week, Brentford played this week as well. And next game, Newcastle have got Spurs. So one of them is going to drop as well. So I think it's a fantastic position for us to be in with 6 points clear of Spurs, with played a game less. So yeah, we're in a strong position, and we shouldn't drop out the top 4 from here now.
I hope you do, but obviously, yeah, I think it's boxed off now.
Yeah, it's healthy.
I think if from a Liverpool point of view, it's definitely over. But if we did have one eye on it, it's Newcastle. We're hoping slip up a little bit. I didn't know they were playing Spurs next. That's great news. If we can win the 3 points tomorrow night against Leeds, which I'm not holding my breath.
You're not confident?
No, not at all. We're honking away from home, as well as anyone, and we're honking away from home against anyone in the bottom 10. I've got a stat for you that I heard today when I was listening to the Anfield Rap podcast. We haven't scored a goal away from home against anyone in the bottom 10.
What?
It's mad, isn't it? So
and Leeds are dangerous as well. Leeds are dangerous.
Wolves, Wolves, Everton, Bournemouth. Yeah,
did you not score against West Ham? Or have you still got them to play?
Yeah,
you haven't played them away. Forest, you lost. Bournemouth,
1-0.
Everton, drew 0-0.
Yeah.
That's
so
bad.
When I had that, I nearly fell over.
Palace, 0-0.
Palace, 0-0, yeah. Still got to go to Leicester, and we've still got to go to Southampton. I think with Leeds as well, that might make up the bottom 10. We just reeled them off, but it was a crazy stat.
That's really bad. That's really bad.
We're going to be on tomorrow night. Are you available for that? I don't know how much you want to do. Maybe do a bit of a watch along. Maybe go live at halftime, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds good, mate.
We'll see how we're feeling when we've had dinner and all that. But on to Thursday night. And my feelings on Europa League. And obviously, I know you don't rate it that highly, but
no.
I remember you were scathing of Ollie when you got beat in the final against Villarreal. So obviously, you care about it a lot. If you went out on a scale of 1 to 10, how upset would you be? I mean, you wouldn't be in tears like you went out of the Champions League, would you? But you obviously want to win it. It's a no-brainer you want to win it. Of course you do.
It's a massive opportunity. I mean, like I said, 2-0 up at home to Sevilla, the game was dead in the water. I just thought it was finished. And then to lose it like that, get the injuries we got in the game, I ain't going to lie, I was really upset after the Thursday. I just thought both centre-halves out and we've let a 2-goal lead slit. And then with the fixtures that we had in the league, I thought, I mean, getting into the Champions League, you can do it one of two methods. You win the Europa League or you get in the top 4. None of them are boxed off. So to me, I want us to be in the competition as long as possible because it gives us an opportunity to be in Europe next year. Well, in the Champions League next year. So I do want to win next Thursday. Like I said, if I go out, I'm not gonna call in sick from work the next day. But like,
you won't lose any sleep. I think that's the best way.
Yeah, I won't lose any sleep. But at the same time, I think it's a huge opportunity for Man United. I still think we've got enough quality to go over to Seville and pick up the win. I think we will. I think it will be tough. I think they'll put on a lot of pressure, but I think the way we're attacking, I think there's goals in this side now. Like I said, apart from Rashford, who's been carrying us in terms of goals, I think I've been impressed how everybody is stepping up. And I'm not confident with Maguire and Lindelof at centre half. I'll be honest. I thought Lindelof, I must say, I thought he was fantastic today, but I'm not confident in them long term. Against better opposition, obviously, we've got Brighton, we've got Villa coming up. Ollie Watkins against Maguire is already giving me nightmares just thinking about it, bro. I'll be honest. So we've got tougher tests to come. Like I said, I don't want to overgas it. It was Forest who were down there struggling, and I hope they get out of it. But it's going to be tough for Forest. And I think if we can get the win in the next 2 games, like I said, Sevilla and Brighton in the cup, I'll feel confident because the cup finals after the season's finished. Do you know what I mean? We're going to have everyone back by then besides Martinez. So if we can just get to the final, I'll be chuffed to bits.
Hizami's still with us. Cheers, brother. Really appreciate it. I think he must have watched our streams before, and he's backing me up on this one.
Yeah.
He says, I always see Casemiro as the kind of signing when Matic came under Mourinho. After 1 to 2 seasons, United will have the same issue in the middle of the field. That's what happens when you sign a 30-year-old for 70 million and try to build a successful team over the next 4 or 5 years. You're gonna kibosh that one straight away, aren't you, Travis?
No, I'm not. It's a fair point.
It's a risk, isn't it?
It is a risk. It is a risk.
I just think sometimes players can age overnight, can't they?
They can.
They can fall off a bit of a cliff.
They can. I hope it doesn't happen with Casemiro. I'm not seeing any signs of it now. I think he's excellent. He's been brilliant. Like you said, it's mad to think that he's missed so many games through suspension. It really has. It feels like he's been out for ages. But I think you can see now he's very reserved with the way he's tackling a little bit now since he's sort of come back. And I think he's being a lot more cautious. I noticed it in the Seville game. He was a little bit more cautious with the way he's trying to tackle. So unless he's just trying to get to the end of the season now, where I think Ten Hag said, you've got to rein it in now with the way he tackles. But he's competitive. That's just the way he plays. It's natural. Yeah. It's in his game. So you can't take that edge away from the player. But back to Hazami's question at the end, do I think United should sign Sabitzer on a permanent deal? I think so. I think if we can get him for 20 million, I think with a few of the other midfielders that we've got going out the door, like a McTominay, Van der Beek, and stuff like that, I think he's a good squad addition. I really do. I think he's solid.
Is he up for sale? I presume he is. Has it been touted?
I think so, yeah. I think Bayern have put a £20 million fee on him, which I think is solid, to be fair. Solid for the fee. I think he'll give you a good few years. He's honest. He's competitive. He's got good quality as well. In the final third, especially, likes to get forward, likes to get ahead of the strikers, makes good runs. And he's very old-fashioned in that sense, because not a lot of central players like to get beyond the strikers and get in the box and get goals from central areas in that sort of box-to-box role. So he's very old-fashioned in that sense. And I think he's slotted into the Manchester United system very well. So yeah, I would, for £20 million, I'd still like another midfielder, but I think at 20 million, it's a good, fair price for him.
Good squaddy. Maybe get rid of a McTominay.
Yeah.
That'd be a good trade.
I think so.
So a 5-year deal for Sabitzer and a 5-year deal for Weghorst.
Well, Weghorst can have a 5-year deal, yeah, but as long as it's not at United, I don't care where he signs up, bro. I don't care where he signs that 5-year deal as long as it's not at Man U, mate. Yeah.
I'd love it if Weghorst signed on a permanent. Izami says, it seems Europa is taking too much burden to the team. It certainly did for Arsenal. Look at the mess Arsenal are in now, going strong in the Europa League, trying to get past Sporting Lisbon. William Saliba gets injured. Arteta must be full of regret. However, Man United are not going for the league, are they? Well, they're not anymore.
Nah.
After the hiding at Anfield. United lost both of their best centre-back in a single game alone. Ten Hag should let it go and maybe focus on the league. At least he already won one cup. Yeah, see, I don't agree with Hazami there. Obviously, you're not going to win the league. So as long as you can consolidate top four and not be at risk of going out of that, you've got to go strong in the Europa League now, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've got enough in the tank to secure top four. And what's making me feel even more confident is that I'm just not confident that the other teams around us can put a long enough run together to like really derail what we can do. I mean, we've got 8 fixtures left with 6 points clear with a possible 24 points left. So that's an 18-point difference. So it means really like we'd have to win 4 to 5 of those 8 games. Do you know what I mean? And the rest won't be able to catch us. And that's providing that Spurs win all the games. They've still got to go to Newcastle. They've still got to go to Anfield as well, Spurs. So like, I know for a fact Spurs aren't going to win every game. Do you know what I mean?
Spurs Newcastle are not finishing top 4. Let's be honest.
Do you not think?
And Liverpool are not. I think there's too much to do now. Villa are not going to. I think top 4 is done now.
You think it's done?
I'm quite confident. United? Newcastle United. Yeah, I can't see there being a big enough drop off. Obviously, reading your tweets, I'm thinking it was all doom and gloom, and you've got a whole first 11 out, and there might be a chance for us, but it's not as bad as that. Definitely not when you're counting Heaton as one of the injuries. I didn't even know he was at United. I think is he not the Villa keeper?
I did actually retweet that. It was a list of the full injuries. No, I think, like you said, with the team we put out today, apart from the 2 centre halves and Luke Shaw, so 3 out the back 5, it's our strongest lineup. Do you know what I mean? Even with the Sabitzer injury, he's replaced with Eriksen, and a fit Eriksen starts over Sabitzer. So it's more the depth of, like, obviously Rashford as well. That's the other one. But I think it's more the meat underneath the starting lineup is like the Garnachos and players like that we're missing. Obviously, Malacia wasn't there. Sabitzer got injured in the warm-up. And that on top of the already fragile depth that we've got just compounded the situation. But like I said, I think there's bigger tests to come. But I think we've got enough in the league now to say that we should be getting top 4 with the position that we're
in. Hizami, make sure you smash that like and subscribe if you haven't already, brother. We've touched on Kane before and Travis. You can answer it again, though, Travis. Obviously, you'd have Kane. Let's be honest, if the price is right, even though he's turning 30 soon, but you're all in for Osimhen, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm all Osimhen, definitely, over Kane. Like you said, logistically, Kane, he'll be coming to United at 30. And he's never, although he's not been a striker that relies on pace, I just think with the way we play, I know obviously like Martial can do that sort of role, the dropping deep and stuff like that. But all our attacking players naturally want to come towards the ball. All of them. We need that variety in our game. I mean, the biggest example and the best example I can give is Erling Haaland. He is not interested in coming towards the ball at all. And as soon as De Bruyne gets it, he's off. If you watch Haaland play, as soon as De Bruyne gets it, he's gone. He's just in behind all the time. And I think he's been the difference this season, Erling Haaland, with the way that they've just brushed teams aside. And I think Osimhen's got that element, that physicality, just wants to spin in behind and just wants to score goals. We just need a natural born goal scorer, someone who just wants to put the ball in the back of the net and do nothing else. And that's why I think obviously Kane does that, but Kane does a lot of other facets in Tottenham's team. I mean, maybe he comes to United and he plays a little bit different, because obviously at Spurs, he does drop deep. He does like to link up. Obviously, they've got runners like Son and Kulusevski who like to run off him and stuff like that. But we've got a load of them players like your Rashfords and the Sanchos who come towards the ball. And I'd like a striker that goes in behind a lot more.
The thing is, Harry Kane is going to break Alan Shearer's record. So whether that's for Spurs or Man United or someone else, if he stays in the Premier League, then on paper it would be a good signing. But as with everything in life, it's about the value for money, isn't it? Like, what kind of price are we talking? Because Spurs are not going to let him go cheap, even though he's only got a year left on his deal this summer. So at what point does it become a no-brainer to sign him? I mean, obviously off the top of my head, I'm thinking 50, 60 million, but I think Spurs would rather let him go on a free 12 months later than let him go for 50 million. Do you?
The difficulty for Harry Kane that he's got as well is that everyone's saying, oh, Harry Kane needs to leave to win trophies. But where's he guaranteed to win trophies unless he goes to City? And he's not going to City. So he could go to Man United and still win nothing. So it's like he's got to weigh that up himself. Like, does he want to tarnish his whole Spurs legacy just to move to Man United and he may not win anything? And it's a big decision for him. Last season killed him. In the summer, tried to go to City, the move didn't work out, and it's finished him. And to me, he might as well, this is me speaking with my head, he might as well stay at Spurs for me. He might as well just stay, because like he's going to break every record under the sun. He'll go down as a legend. Sometimes like your legacy is not defined always by winning masses and masses of trophies. And like I said, Steven Gerrard, I know he won the Champions League at Liverpool, but will always go down as a Liverpool legend and a man of loyalty and honor. The fact that he rejected moves to the likes of Chelsea, and he could have went to Real Madrid. And you know for a fact Steven Gerrard could have left Liverpool if he wanted to and won titles. But he stayed loyal, and sometimes that's a sign of a player. And I think Harry Kane personally should follow suit and stay at Spurs, maybe nick a cup, break all the records, and he'll go down as a legend.
But to be fair, Steven Gerrard was scooping cups left, right, and centre, wasn't he? Whereas Harry Kane's going to end up being a little bit better than Alan Shearer, and that's it. Like, you got to feel for the guy.
But this is the thing about Spurs as well. Like, this is the expectation level. Like, they're very, very distorted in terms of their plan, and I think that comes from like Daniel Levy and the board of directors and the managers that they employ. They employ like an Antonio Conte, but then they don't give him the resources to like win straight away. But then the managers that they get who want to build something, the fans just like get overexcited and expect them to be winning trophies yesterday. So it's like, when you think of it, Liverpool under Klopp took 3 and a bit years to really start competing at the very, very top. But Tottenham don't give their managers that time, but they're in that boat where they need to really build. And Pochettino was doing that. He was really building. He was getting to Champions League finals. He was getting the top 4 consistently every single year. And I think his job was very underrated and very undervalued, because everybody just, fans, they're very emotional, and all the social media and the pressure and the banter and all that, and owners fall for it. Do you know what I mean? They fall for the pressure on what the fans think. So at Tottenham, they should be prioritizing the cups more. Let's get over the line in the FA Cup. Let's get over the line in the EFL Cup. Let's win the Carabao Cup, and let it be a platform and a springboard to really kick on.
Yeah, but they can't even do that, can they? I'm sure they've tried to win Carabao Cup.
But they change their whole lineup in the Carabao Cup and then get knocked out by a Championship team. Why do that? Go strong, get to the final, give your fans a day out. Do you know what I mean? This is what they need to be doing to build.
The thing is, you mentioned Daniel Levy there, and they don't give the managers the time like Liverpool did with Klopp. But at the same time, they could have cashed in on Harry Kane for 150 million and used that to buy an Alisson or a Van Dijk. They could have bought like 3 50 million pound players. So it did feel a bit odd at the time. It felt like the right time, because Kane was 28 then?
Yeah.
150 million to City. I got to admit, I was thinking he's had his injury problems with his ankles and stuff. Everything seemed right. And now, not that they're stuck with him. Do you know what I mean? He's a great player and a great goal scorer, and he'll carry on scoring goals for them. But in terms of a rebuild and what that could have done for the club, it was a mistake looking back. And City are probably glad now, because would they have bought Haaland if they had Harry Kane?
Probably
Maybe
not.
Dalaval's in the comments. How you doing, mate? Thanks for joining. He says, have you seen the McAllister links? He says Chelsea, United and Liverpool are the most linked. This is the thing that annoys me about these links, though, because as soon as a midfielder's smashing it, and you can mention them all, like Caicedo, McAllister, even this Mateus Nunes at Wolves, who's not smashing it. But what you're talking for these players, you're still talking 60, 70, 80, 90 million pounds. So it's a bit like, what do the links even mean? Certainly from Liverpool, Dalaval. Like if it's 80, 90 million, you can forget it.
Liverpool are gonna have to pay a premium as well, because they know you need midfielders. So they're gonna ramp the price right up. You're gonna get shafted this season in the market, mate, for midfielders. You really are. You're gonna have to pay some big bucks, mate.
But that's why you can see already we're going to try and be cute. We're going to try and get a Gravenberch, who I think he's available for 25 million. We're going to try and scoop 3 or 4 cheap midfielders. You can just see it. This Mateus Nunes thing is not going away. I don't know why it's not going away, because they bought him for 45 million. If he's come to the Prem and been a success, you know, what would it add? 20, 30 million onto it? But it's not. They're still talking about 45 million. So I can only imagine he's got a release clause to move on again for 45 million in the first year or two. But yeah, that's all for the summer. And for another poddy, I'm sure we're going to be doing some lives over the summer transfer window whenever some breaking news happens. Big. Or whenever something doesn't happen and Jude Bellingham signs for Real Madrid, I'll probably come on and do an hour stream where I'm just crying and wailing and blowing my nose into tissues, to be honest. FSG, why are you doing this to me? Dalaval says Arsenal bottling the title is brilliant and laughable. It is. It's absolutely fantastic. LFC will soon meet with the camp of Alexis McAllister to present the club's project. The midfielder will 100% leave Brighton in the summer. Fabrizio Romano. He may well do. And do you know what? Brighton cannot hold on to all this talent. Mitoma is linked with Arsenal, amongst other clubs. Caicedo, probably Arsenal again. Arsenal are linked with everyone. Declan Rice as well. McAllister has got a big reputation now. Brighton could end up selling all these players and having 250, 300 million pounds.
Yeah, and then buy like about 5 Matomas for about 20 million.
And honestly, doing it all again.
Yeah.
Hizami says, do you think Klopp era is now ending? Well, Travis certainly does. Hizami, if you tune into our podcast, he thinks that Jurgen Klopp probably needs a fresh challenge and he's gone stale. And Liverpool should move on, or Klopp should be given chance
You
and
answer that
time
one, Scotty.
to rebuild a new team. It's quite simple for me. Under FSG, no manager is going to challenge for the league ever again. FSG have to sell up and leave. If they don't, and they hand Jurgen Klopp another 30 million transfer kitty for the summer, Jurgen Klopp should walk. He should walk with my blessing and every other fan's blessing. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for all the trophies. But yeah, it's not going to happen. But I'm still seeing it on Twitter now. Like, people are still saying, oh, we might sign this midfielder, that midfielder, the other midfielder, 180 million. The problem is we just can't spend it all on Jude Bellingham. I don't even agree with that. There isn't 180 million. Okay. The reason why we've pulled out of Jude Bellingham is because we wanted to spend around 90 million on him, which would be 30 million usual net spend, 60 million would hopefully get for someone like Jota, and there's your 90 million on Jude Bellingham, and he would have been the only signing. The way this season has gone, and it looks like we need wholesale changes in the whole midfield, probably even 3 quality midfielders, it turns out that Jude Bellingham will not be enough. So that's why these links seem to be ending. Liverpool have pulled out, is that we need to be cute now and try to sign 3 30 million midfielders and take some chances on a Gravenberch and maybe a Mateus Nunes if he's available.
Conor Gallagher.
45. Conor Gallagher. Mason Mount is in the last year of his deal. People are quoting 60 million. I think he might get away for about 40 million. James Maddison might be available because Leicester get relegated, so James Maddison might be available. Yuri Tielemans, I think, is out of contract in the summer, so he'll be available on a free. Arsenal have been linked with him for about 2 years now, so that might finally come, or he might finally move somewhere like us. So yeah, it's just basically for Klopp's sanity and his reputation, I would probably walk in the summer, just saying I can't do this anymore. I cannot be expected to compete up the top of the league on 30 million net. And equally, I don't believe that FSG are going to somehow release 150, 180, 200 million to buy 3 or 4 quality replacements. So it's all up in the air. I don't know what's going to happen. Definitely the Klopp era wouldn't be ending if he was backed properly. Yeah. Pixie, stop. So basically, if he was back, like Man United spend 200 million every summer. Arsenal have spent like 500 million in the last 3 summers, so that's 150 million a year. So if he was back like that, there'd be no Klopp era ending would even be talking about. He's basically been abused and his luck's run out. We haven't really got any stars to sell for 90 million and then buy 2 or 3 20, 30, 45 million pound players. So I don't know what's going to happen. I know that's a long answer.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a shelf life to how he's had to operate. Do you know what I mean? Under the ownership, like you said, he can't have another 7 years of just like working miracles. Basically, like, it just can't. And he basically alluded into it in his embargoed press conference. Exactly what you've just said on the tin. We can't afford Bellingham. That's literally it. They're not going to give me the money for Bellingham. We can't afford Bellingham. There's no point thinking about it.
The fans have taken that would rather spend the Bellingham money elsewhere. The Bellingham money isn't even there.
You haven't got 150 million to spend this summer. Like you said, you'll get good players, but it's not going to be necessarily the quality that will appease the fans. And like you said, if Klopp's going to continue, this is a big year for him because he's going to say, well, with the budget we've got and the players I'm going to get, this has to work. Because if I have another season like this season, he'll get sacked. And he looks like a very proud man of integrity. He won't want to get sacked.
He's not getting sacked.
If you have a season,
riot.
If you have another season like this year with signings, it will get sacked. It will. Like how can you not? Like what? You reckon next year if you're like 8th at Christmas, miles off the top?
It's like Klopp said though. Like he did say, look, if you bring in another manager, it's not going to change. It's not going to change where all of a sudden, I've got a new manager, here's 200 million. He actually said them words.
But the expectation's not going to change, though. The expectation's not going to change. He set that bar now. Do you know what I mean? He set it. You can't just now, like, all of a sudden turn around and say, oh, because we've now only got 30 million, then it's fine to finish 7th, 8th, or just fight for 6th. Like that expectation level is always going to be there. I mean, obviously you're looking at it from a very, very logical point of view that if you've got 30 million and City have got 200 million every year, the likelihood of you being able to compete with that is extremely slim. Do you know what I mean? But like, logic doesn't always apply in football. Do you know what I mean? You go off the stature, the history of the football club. Liverpool's a huge football club. We haven't won the title for 10 years, and the pressure on Man United's always astronomical every year, even if a new manager comes in his first year. And it's the same for your club. Do you know what I mean? That's never, ever going to change. Even on the £30 million budget, you'll always be expected, give or take a year's building, to be competing for the highest trophies. And I know you'll say probably in the Premier League era, you've not always done that consistently until Klopp's come in, but you've had that taste of it now. You've won the Premier League, you've won your Champions League, you've been getting to finals regularly all the time. And if the ownership aren't necessarily going to change the model, they might tweak it a little bit. They might, not saying they're going to dip their hand into the pocket and going to start giving you, like, splashing the cash necessarily, but they might free up a little bit. But like you said,
Klopp, they might sign the Brighton scouting network. That'd be the best signing they could do.
It really would be. It really would be.
Let me see. Dalaval said 150 to 170 million for Jude Bellingham. Yeah, I agree that when you start getting to figures like that, that's kind of Mbappe figures. And I do agree, there's a point where you withdraw from the deal because it doesn't make any sense anymore. But at the same time, it's never been touted that Jude Bellingham's got a release clause in his contract, so there can't be one. But at the same time, and I said this on the text a couple of days ago, Trav, there must be a point where Jude Bellingham has said, look, I want to come and develop in the Bundesliga, but I don't want to be held to ransom 2 or 3 years down the line. So while that won't be in the contract, because that would be like a release clause, but there might be a point, and I've seen it in the reports the last couple of days, where he might just sit tight and stay in Borussia Dortmund for another season, when I think he'd only have a year left then, and then he'd be choosing where he wants to go at a reduced rate. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think
strong possibility.
Yeah, I don't think this one's finished yet, and I don't think Jude Bellingham is going to get forced to go somewhere that he doesn't want to go either. Not that saying that he wouldn't want to go to Real Madrid or Man United or Man City, but it just feels like there's something there that he really wants to do, and he's got his heart set on it. Whether that's him, his family, or following in the footsteps of Steven Gerrard, don't know. Let's just see what the summer brings. Hizami says, I think Klopp is putting his trust in Jones and Elliott, but it may take some time for them to mature and become world class. I don't think they'll ever become world class, Hizami. I really don't, especially not Elliott. He's just, his lack of pace costs him big times. Jones, he's injured all the time. I hope that's not the future of the Liverpool midfield. Dalaval says there are so many midfielders out there for cheap prices, like Ugart from Sporting, Coney from Gladbach, and maybe a Barella. 50 million for Barella, really?
I'd
take him right now. Yeah, I think he'll cost a lot more, unless he's in the final year of his deal. I don't know that he is. I feel the players themselves let Klopp down, just like United did when Ollie was there. We've touched on this before. There's a massive chance that Klopp has lost the dressing room. There could have been many factors to that. It could have been Pep Linder's book that he released about our tactics and intensity and all that. Maybe the players feel he let them down, exposing some inside info, or it could be Salah's big contract. The likes of Trent, Virgil, maybe even Thiago, who's one of our best players, are looking at it thinking, I want a contract that big. So you might have lost the dressing room that way. It's just, you don't know. There's so many caveats to it. Dalaval says we have to sack Klopp if he gets backed and we are in the same place next season. You don't even have to say that, mate, because he will not be backed. I can guarantee he will not be backed. If he spent 200 million and ended up in 8th place, I would personally say he needs sacked, but it won't happen. So it's a moot point, as they say. So I'll blame Klopp for our signings because he has so much power at the football club, and he does not realise that he won't be backed. He really won't. I think Jude Bellingham will stay another year at Dortmund and hope we get Champions League next season, and then we get him. And Jude wants Liverpool, so he's willing to wait for Liverpool. I agree, Delaval. There's something in this. I might end up with egg on my face, and he's pictured holding up a Man City top or a Real Madrid top, and I'm like, well, that ship sailed. We dwelled on it, even though we were waiting a full 12 months to sign him, and when it come round, we just didn't have the peas to do it, and it's our own fault. But that's all.
I think Liverpool as a club just need to move on from this Jude thing. Like, he's a fantastic player, and like you said, but he's just way out the price range for most clubs. 99% of clubs just can't afford him. I don't even think United could afford him on financial fair play regulations with the wages and the whole package. Do you know what I mean? Like, I hate to think what Erling Haaland's deal really costs with all the like illegal hiding of money that Man City have done, and because that deal,
well, it was 60 million to his agent, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So that
I think it was 55 million to Dortmund, 60 million to his agent.
It tells you everything you need to know.
Crazy. But you don't know if Jude will be like, because his agent is his dad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it is. So whether that means that he's going to be more looking out for his career rather than money. But again, it'll all come out in the summer or not if he stays at Dortmund. Travis, thanks for your time today.
It's been a pleasure.
You can sleep like a baby tonight with the 3 points in the bag.
I'll rest nice tonight, mate. I'll rest nice.
Top 4 consolidated and onto Thursday night. But me and you'll be back tomorrow night for a watch along, maybe second half. We'll come on at halftime, do a watch along the second half.
Sounds good.
And then match reaction after Leeds Liverpool. But just remember, I'm saying this again because I want it to end. Liverpool have not scored a goal away from home against the bottom 10. Let's hope tomorrow it ends and we grab a goal. Last comment from Dalaval. The players are mentally done. We've had these players for the past 3 years, and Klopp was so naive last summer. He should have bought a Mateus Nunes. He didn't have the money, mate. He probably would have. He obviously would have, because we're caught in him now. He did not have the money to buy him, or we would have. We've had these players a lot longer than 3 years. It's been like 5-6 years now. You think of the starting lineup now. They've all been there like 6 years. Henderson, Fabinho, Van Dijk, Matip, Robertson, Trent, Salah, Firmino. It was Mane on the left. I brought in a couple of forwards, but it's just crazy how we've let this team decay. And that's on the owners, not my beloved Klopp. I still believe if Mane stays with Liverpool, the club will stay as it is. He's the key and now long lost gone. Hizami, watch my video that I posted yesterday. It's only a 5-minute. I have predicted that Sadio Mane is going to come back on loan for 12 months. We'll probably pay 50% of his wages because he's not going to give up 350k a week. So if we pay 175k, Bayern continue to pay 175k. I think it'd work out best for Bayern, Liverpool, and Sadio Mane himself. They're not going to be able to sell him because it's easy to say we'll sell him for a knockoff 10 million. He won't leave because no other club's giving him 350 grand a week. So there's my prediction. Watch the video and give it a little like as well if you don't mind, mate. And let me know in the comments if you think Mane on a 12-month deal, because he's only just turned 31. Do you know what I mean? He's still got a bit of legs, and we definitely would have needed him this season with Diaz being out. Nunes has had his injury problems. We bought Gakpo to fill a bit of a gap, which looks like it's going to be replacing Firmino, but we'll get into all that tomorrow. Travis, thank you ever so much. And pleasure. We will see you all next time. Tomorrow. Cheers, Dalaval. Cheers, Hizami. Top lads.
Header. Oh, you beauty! What a